Welcome back, ladies and gents. You know what time of day it is, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. Welcome back to our crude oil morning prep. I'm here with my good friend and colleague, partner in crime, as we call him, Marty Errico from Traders Audio. Marty runs a broadcast every morning at Traders Audio directly from the NYMEX trading floor in New York City. And of course, my name is JJ. I'm from SchoolOfTrade.com. I run a live trade room every morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. Come out and see me anytime. We offer a free trial for those services as well. Alrighty, getting started here this morning. I'm going to kick off the call this morning with a technical approach. That means I'm looking at charts, right? We'll kick it all the way across the country to the NYMEX exchange, and we'll listen to what Marty's seeing on the trading floor. But first, I'm going to start with a top-down approach, meaning that I'm going to start with some anchor charts, slower time frame charts this morning. I'll move it all the way down to some minute charts, even some tick charts for you guys today. My job is relatively simple. By starting with a slower time frame, I'm able to work my way down to what happened overnight, what's happening right now, and if I can do that, I can usually anticipate the direction at the open. Market on crude oil opens up at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. In my opinion, though, we'll start getting trading opportunities as early as 8 a.m. Eastern Time this morning. So again, my job is pretty simple. Start with the slow stuff, figure out what's happened recently, what's our trend, where's our major support, major resistance. I'll then look at what's happening overnight. What's happening overnight is very important because a wide range coming out of London, big clue. Narrow range, bigger clue. Are we at the highs overnight? Biggest clue, right? So we'll be looking at what happened overnight. Specifically, what's coming out of the London trading session. Once I know what's happening overnight, that's going to give me that little bit of intuition as far as where we're headed this morning based on my experience. And of course, as long as I know where we're headed, if I can find those support and resistance levels, we can find those high percentage trades starting at 8 o'clock in the morning. All right, that's the plan. Once I'm done with you, though, I'm going to kick it all the way across the country over the NYMEX exchange, and we're going to hear from Marty Errico. Marty's going to provide us with what I think to be the most important information this morning. You know, we've all got charts on our screens here, but very few of us have access directly to the trading floor. That's where Marty really, that's where he really flexes his muscles, because he's going to provide us with a pit analysis this morning, and he'll be providing us with market direction, intermarket divergence, crude, RBOB gasoline, heating oil, and Brent crude. We'll talk about market internals, different option prices, and as always, very important, remember those pit session levels are different than what we see in the electronic trading session. So we'll be watching closely to see what Marty's seeing for his pit specific session levels. Alrighty, enough out of me. Let's grab some charts here this morning. Now I want to remind you guys, we always update our blog each morning. If you head over to sidewaysmarkets.com, sidewaysmarkets.com, and you'll see a link right on the homepage there for the crude oil squawk and prep. Check that link out. It will take you over to our main page here for crude oil squawk, and we've got all the charts posted here for you, usually about 15 to 20 minutes before we start the call each morning. All right, there's a spot here to join our newsletter, and of course you can get all the instant updates. Looking at the news first this morning, just so we know what we have in front of us today. Crude oil traders have to be aware of what the news is each morning, and today is no different. Looking at this today, we know today is the beginning of the end of the month, right? Well, what did you think I was going to say, right? The beginning of the end of the what? Yeah, beginning of the end of the month. So we always remind ourselves each morning, first thing I always do, what day of the week is it? Today's a Tuesday. No real red flags there. If it was a Wednesday, I would say inventory day. If it was a Friday, I would say end of the week. Monday, I would say you get the point. Tuesday, not that much. We know what day of the week it is. What week of the month? It's the fourth week of the month. Anything in particular about the fourth week of the month? No, not really. We know the last Friday of the month we're going to get employment situation, non-farm payrolls. But that's not always the case, just the fourth week of the month. If it was the third week of the month, I would say it's OPEX. First week of the month, right? I would say it's the beginning of a new month. Fourth week, we're there. We're going into the end of the month, though. So that's the most important thing about the fourth week of the month, going into the end of the month. What month of the year? What month is it? Month of July. What do we know about the month of July? It's a summertime month. Whenever you hear summertime month, the first thing that comes to my mind is get in early, get out early, take that money early, right? Be confident in taking profit. I'm not going to try to get those huge runners. I'm going to tighten my stop up because in the summertime, we know that price action will be great for 20 minutes and then dead for 20 minutes. Great for an hour and then dead for half an hour. So we have to be aware that the price action will come and it will go. And the reason for that is we have fewer people participating in the summertime. No, it doesn't mean we can't trade it. No, it doesn't mean it's riskier. The only thing riskier about trading in the summertime is not understanding the difference between good market personality and bad market personality. If you understand what bad personality looks like, you'll easily be aware and you'll be able to avoid it. So Tuesday morning, the end of the month, in a summertime month, think about what that means for us. Now, specifically, I'm going to reference today's FOMC meeting beginning. It's not going to be that important for us today, but it is important, though, that reminds us that tomorrow at 12:15 or 2 o'clock, we're going to hear that FOMC meeting announcement. So although we shouldn't see much response to the FOMC meeting today, we may hear a little bit of news chatter later on in the afternoon if people are speculating about what they're talking about. But we're not going to hear anything directly from the FOMC today. That will be tomorrow afternoon. And tomorrow we will be talking about the fact that it is going to be an impact player tomorrow. Not today, though. What we have today is we have 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock news. Now you'll notice there is no red star news. The fact there is no red star news, that should be a relative big flag here, big red flag this morning. Red star news, like we have tomorrow, right, like we have Thursday, and like we have on Friday, we can only assume that the red star news days are always going to give us the best trading opportunities because the most amount of people will be trading, we'll get the most amount of volume and the most amount of volatility. We know today, though, we don't have that red star news, so we are encouraged to be patient, again, looking for that decent and that strong market personality, which is classified by higher highs, lower lows, great speed, right, and volume. Looking at the times, though, 9 o'clock tells us we may have to wait until after the opening bell on the NYMEX exchange to get our first few trades today. It may be too slow before that 9 a.m. opening bell news event. Home prices are very important, and we'll be definitely looking for a reaction to that 9 o'clock news. At 10 o'clock this morning, we have consumer confidence, a very important news event for any crude oil traders, any natural gas traders. Consumer confidence is very important because consumer spending is led by consumer confidence. If I'm confident as a consumer, I'm going to go open a new business. I'm going to go expand the business I already own. I'm going to take a vacation with my family. I'm going to buy a new home. I'm going to buy a new car. I'm going to consume. Gary, this is Econo Day, and you can always grab it every morning on my website. I'll be sure to give a link to you here, Gary, in just 2 seconds. Thanks for being here, by the way. So here we are, 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock news. I'm going to set my alarm 8:45 and 9:45 so I know exactly when the news is this morning. Be aware today, guys, we may have to be patient for that first news event. 9 o'clock is our first major news of the day, and that, of course, is right at the same time that we open up on the NYMEX exchange. Moving forward, now that we know what our news looks like today, and Gary, I'll be right there with you, Gary, I want to jump right over to a 4-hour chart. The 4-hour chart of crude oil is always one of my favorites because it's telling me 2 things. The 4-hour chart tells me 2 things. What are those 2 things, guys? First of all, direction, right? Trend. Second, major support and resistance. Major support and major resistance. If I can find those 2 important clues on my anchor chart, I'm using a 4-hour chart because I believe it's a good blend between a daily chart, which is too slow for most day traders, and a tick chart, which is just your entry chart. We need something to rely on to be the anchor chart. So here we are. What's the trend direction? Anybody see it? Trend direction clearly is down. We don't need a set of bifocals to see that. Major support and major resistance. Okay. Where do we have major support? Major support, 103.03. Buy zone below us. Major support, 102.16. The BMT below us. Major support, lows at the channel. Major support, 169. You can see where I'm going with this. So my anchor chart finds me all of these areas where I'm going to use the support as a target for a short selling, and then I'm going to look for a reversal. And if I get a reversal, I then have a counter trend, short-term, long opportunity, right? Buying opportunity. So we look at this chart. The direction is down. Major support below us at 103.03. Major resistance above us at 104.28. We have resistance above us, trend channel, the cloud, the sell zones overhead. The list goes on. So looking at this now, if somebody was to ask me, Joe, where would the easy money be today? Now, if you rewind the tape and go back to yesterday, you recall we said the exact same thing I'm going to say today. And I'll quote my good friend Jim Rogers. If you don't know who Jim Rogers is, you got to Google search that. You definitely want to know who one of our grandfathers of our industry is. Jim Rogers has almost always been famously quoted as saying, my job as a trader is to find that bag of cash sitting in the corner that all I have to do is walk over and pick it up. And we always remind ourselves every morning as part of our morning prep, keep it simple. Think about where the easy money is going to be today. If I was to ask you, who do you think would have the easier job, the buyers or the sellers? Who do you think? Right? Gary, you're a buyer. I'm a seller. Who do you think is going to win today? Well, looks like the seller has a much easier spot to drop. We've got wide open space below us. We don't have a lot of wide open space above us. So if I had to guess today, I would guess to the downside. I would use the lows of the channel. I would use the 103.03. I would use the major support levels below me as easy profit targets. Okay, this chart is a very important chart because it's going to tell me where to expect this move lower to end. And at that point, I can make an educated decision if I want to take the reversal trade and go long, counter trend, or if I want to then sit on my hands and wait for another opportunity to trade lower with the trend. Let's keep going. 4-hour chart shows me direction and major support and major resistance. Here's a 60-minute chart. Now, you may have been wondering over the past few days why we've had such difficult time going lower. It's been very easy for us to see a bounce and then trade short. In fact, we've done that multiple times over the past 3 trading days. We've bounced up and then sold short. We bounced up and then sold short. Now another day comes where we're testing this symmetry buy zone. Now if you remember, over the past 3 days, we've been using the top of this symmetry buy zone as a place to look for a bounce. I've used it as a profit target, and I've also used it as a place to look for a price reversal trade. Now it appears 1, 2, 3, 4. It appears the 4th try is now apparently the successful try. Now you'll notice we still have that bearish channel. This is ultimately the same channel we found on the 4-hour chart. We have the ABCD pattern, and that ABCD, which I consider symmetry, is what has given us this symmetry buy zone. There is one more support level we have to worry about before we break this buy zone down, and that's at 103.33. This might just be that day when these crude traders take this baby down. And if you remember, that 103.03 was the level we found on the 4-hour chart. So right now, this 60-minute chart tells me, yes, indeed, I do want to be selling short. But boy, I've got a lot of support there in my way. So we have this trend line we've drawn. We have the 103.33 support. And then most importantly, we have the low of this channel support. I will be looking to sell short today on crude. But we have to be realistic. If we don't have any news until 9 o'clock, we may have to wait patiently until after 9 o'clock to really get the best trading opportunities this morning. The reason I say that is because we have all this support sitting here for us. You know what it looks like, right? We make a 10-tick new lower low, we bounce 40 ticks back up, and then we sell it short back down. So look for the bounces. Be very careful trying to sell at the lows. I'm going to look for the place to bounce and then get short. Bounce and then get short. Bounce and you get the point, right? If we're trying to sell directly into support, I'm going to have a headache from banging my head against that brick wall over and over again. So I'm going to wait for that bounce off the lows. I'm going to wait for the trend to change back to the downside, and I'm going to look to get short. Again, be very careful selling at these lows. It's very clear, these big wicks. These big candlestick wicks make it very clear that those sellers have had a difficult time getting some consistency here. Now it looks like with this big strong bearish candle here, it looks like we may just have this market moving lower finally. But again, we can't guarantee that. We can't predict. All we can do is react. Here's a 5-minute chart. 5-minute chart shows us some great information. Let me switch this down to a 30-minute chart first though, because on a 30-minute chart, you really get a chance to see what's been happening. Here's a 30-minute chart with one of our proprietary indicators on it that basically, as you can see, it just shades the ranges. So you can see the range below us is red, 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 red. You can see they're all shaded red. That means we've had lower lows, lower highs each way. Now, usually we don't trend for more than 3 or 4 days in a row. So this is either going to be a very confirming sign that the bears are here to stay, or we may see this become a fake out breakout and then head right back higher now. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But what I want you to see on this chart, though, is as you can see the consistent move lower. And you can see that we can draw that channel on here, move it back to our 5-minute chart, and we can really kind of sink our teeth into what this price action is telling us right now. First of all, we look and see what the, come on. Was it something I said? I didn't mean to get you working so hard this morning, Crude. There we go. All right, look at the 5-minute chart. What do we see here? First of all, what's the range overnight? Range overnight, we're used to seeing about $1 range coming out overnight. We have about that, about 75 cents. So it's a relatively narrow range. Relatively narrow ranges usually are consistent throughout the entire day. Narrow ranges overnight usually result in narrow ranges in the day. Wide ranges overnight usually result in wide ranges on the day as well, right? Look what happened yesterday. Wide range overnight, right? Had a pretty wide range in the day. Today will be no different. One of the most important clues we're seeing right now, though, is look at the condition of price action in relationship to yesterday's trading range. Previous low of day, previous high of day. What does that tell me? I'm below the previous low of day. If I'm below the previous low of day, the bears are in charge. That confirms the desire to sell short today. Second clue we see. What's that dotted purple line right there? That dotted purple line, 103.90, is the prior week's low. Wow, really? So this isn't just the low of yesterday. This is last week's low. Now think about that. If we say that below yesterday's lows were bearish, right? Think about it. It's like market profile. Below the value area low, right? Sellers are in charge. We're below the previous low of day, yesterday's low print. If I'm below yesterday's lows, we can only assume the sellers see value going lower. If I'm below last week's low, that's even more powerful. So right now, folks, we have a double whammy here at that 103.87 because the 103.90 is last week's low and 103.87 is Monday's low. Bottom line, guys, if we keep going lower here this morning, we know now the sellers are clearly in charge. So guys, I'm going to be focused on selling short today. I'm looking for new lower lows. Like I said earlier, I'm going to be looking for the bounce in price. I'm not going to sell the low. I'm going to wait for the bounce and then sell it short after the bounce. That way I'm not selling directly on top of major support. It's a relatively easy situation we have today. We can tell the direction. Now what we have to do is find that personality and find the entry points. And of course for that, we'll see you guys in our live trade room today where we call every entry live in real time so every one of our members can shadow trade. Now, that's just my opinion. I'm looking to sell short today. I've got some profit targets down around 103.30, 103.03. I'm going to be waiting patiently to see what happens at 9 o'clock for that first taste of news today. But you know what? I want to hear what's happening with Marty over at the trading floor. Marty Errico joins us directly from the NYMEX floor. It's a great chance for us to see what the pit is seeing today. Marty, how's the personality there? Is it a busy day on the floor? How you doing today, my friend? Happy Tuesday to you.
Happy Tuesday to you as well, Mr. JJ. Well, good morning to you all. Thank you, JJ, again. Well, I'm kind of looking at a very similar scenario here. For me, for us personally down here on the trading floor, we've been watching that 102.57 level to start the downtrend, okay, right? We've been making new lower lows and kind of just drifting lower for the last couple of days now. But we're really going to be focused mainly, I believe, on, once again, that 102.57 to change the trend, right? You can clearly see we've trading a little bit lower. We're breaching some major levels. We're still inside that bearish channel, right? So we basically breached and hit the lower end of our bounce area. If you look back on a little bit of a longer time frame chart, which we did Sunday, right? We looked at that larger time frame chart as JJ was just looking at. You can see we're getting towards the lower end of the bounce. Well, we are at the lower end of the bounce. Now that we're below yesterday's low, it is quite concerning that we could sell some retracements. We could start selling just a bit and then ultimately drifting around here towards the bottom of the range. And then the bottom of that range is at 102.57, that 102.60, the 102.50 level. That's going to be where we're really going to get in charge to see whether we're going to try to buy that low or we're end up going to sell down all the way down to 100. So again, we're looking at just a few simple price levels here. Right, we will trade lower and we will trade down into our bottom of our channel, as you can see here. And then once we get to the bottom of that channel, that's where it's going to define the real downtrend. If we happen to fall below, that will get us going. Now we have a couple variables in play. We have news, obviously, today, as JJ was just mentioning. We were talking about Redbook at 855. We got Case Shiller, consumer confidence, right? State Street confidence investors, and then also importantly, the most important, API numbers that are coming out tonight. If we get that little bit of a preview in terms of downside or builds and inventory, then that's going to put the water on the fire and boom, no more nice little fuel to fire for crude oil. So we're going to be looking at that most likely. Right now, across the board, what am I looking at? I'm looking at downside here. Crude, RBOB, heating oil, Brent. Everything's just slightly lower this morning as we kind of just trade in a little bit of a net change to the downside here. Mini contracts also lower by about $1. So we're talking about down about $1 from yesterday's settlement number. Keep in mind, in the pit we settled at 104.58, 104.60 is where it was our closing settlement number. I believe the closing range was, Jeffrey knows, 104.55 to 104.60. I believe the closing range was in the pit. So you can see we ended up closing up in the 104 handle, which was a little bullish. Right now we're experiencing a pullback below yesterday's low, and we're going to sit tight and watch what happens around this, 103.50 level. Alrighty, so if you look at the RBOB with me here, we're looking at SEP contracts here. RBOB's below $3. Heating oil is just sitting at that 301 level right now as we're kind of just holding steady. Volatility is firm in the pit across the board. Again, the pit's not open yet, but again, volatility is firm. We are also looking at your spreads now. This is big, the Brent WTI spread. We were at parity the other day on the Brent WTI spread, and look where Brent's trading at now. Brent's up in the 107 handle, right? And we have our crude down the 103 handle, I believe. Let me see, yeah, Brent's up in the 107 handle. So the spread between Brent WTI this morning kind of in a little bit of backwardation, which is bearish by about 80 cents this morning. So that's another bearish sign. So say if the spread tightens up, it goes up to 353 even on the spread, and then we'll start to rise. But other than that, right now we're about 370 on the spread, and we're starting to backwardate and trade a little bit lower. So we're kind of mixed on the spread front. That's why you have a green and a red arrow right there between the Brent WTI spread. Calendar spreads as well. They're actually looking a little bullish, believe it or not. So that's the little bit of divergence that we have there between our calendar spreads and our Brent WTI spread. But everything else is looking lower to sideways. Again, we're thinking that we trade within that channel, trade a little bit lower, right, and then come down towards that very critical level of 102.50. And that's going to be the huge line in the sand to indicate whether we have that downtrend continuation of that, right, given the benefit of doubts to the bears. We're going to start selling retracements. We're just going to be selling waves all day. Now, I don't know until we hit that level, right? I can't tell you. A lot of the guys in the pit are also looking at that level as well. Look at the dollar this morning, ladies and gentlemen. Dollar's trading 81.73.5, and right now we are having somewhat of a net change here of down about 28 points on the day for the dollar, right? Euro's up 28 points. So this is going to be exciting to say the least to see exactly where we do run into here on your products and crude. So again, as I mentioned, RBOB, crude, heating oil, all trading lower. Let's just look at the natural gas chart, and then we'll get to the levels here. Natural gas, right? We're breaching down to major support here. A lot of interest in 340 even put, 340 even call, sorry. So I think we can possibly bounce off that 340 and then start to trade higher. So again, we have a lot of interest in a 340 call in the pit. In the pit yesterday, we also saw 355 puts trade big time, and you saw the downtick in relation to that. But again, they show a lot of interest in 340 call, and we could see a little bit of a bounce once we hit the 340 even level. You can see we're at major levels of support. We're going to be looking to buy that support here on the natural gas. Weather has been a very big variable in the natural gas market, and we've been watching, obviously, these colder than expected temperatures kind of moving in, a little bit cooler than expected temperatures moving into this marketplace, causing the market to drop. Again, we're coming off of these major heat waves, major variables that made market rally, and now we're coming off that, and we're starting to trade a little bit lower. So on natural gas, we're going to be looking to buy some dips here. Crude, a little bit of a different story. We might be looking to buy the dip if we stay above the 102.57, 102.50. All right, guys, let's take a look at those levels now here. As we promised, is always the case every single morning. That's what we do. So we kind of have a little bit of a game plan of attack in line. We looked at some charts for crude and natural. Let's take a look at the levels now. Guys, these are your pit session trading levels from yesterday. We had a high up at 105.35, a low down at 104.05, close and settlement number up at the 104.58. Like I mentioned, 104.55 to 104.60. So really 104.58, your closing range, smack dab in the middle. All right, settlement number as well. Okay, your daily pivot today, 104.66, which we were trading well below by about almost a buck here, guys, this morning. Again, daily pivot, we're trading below at the moment. I got some support resistance levels here, guys. First level support, 103.97, which we have just breached and traded below. I got that 103.36 is going to be that next very important level. Now, if we break below that, then we could sell retracements and just keep on selling down, selling those wave shorts, as JJ would say. Other than that, here next level is going to be 102.5 and then 102.06, okay? Resistance up above if we happen to trade a little bit higher. Guys, I got that pivot, 104.66, of course, that pivot. Even yesterday's settlement number, which is very close to that pivot. Then I got that 105.35, yesterday's high. Of course, as always the case, then we have your three levels here. We got the 105.27, 105.96, and also 107.26. Let's take a quick look now over at your volatility. And you can see 22% implied volatility. Front vol index, VX all trade around that 22% level as well. Open interest, look at this, with 364,383. That is significantly higher, indicating shorts are in the market. Again, open interest rising here. Shorts are in the market at the moment. So we look at our open interest on the board this morning. You can see 364,383. Let's take a quick look over at natural gas. Again, we're looking at your pit session high from yesterday, 349.1. Your low, 342.70, and we close and settle the day at 346.30. 347.10. Daily pivot, there we go, 346.30, right? Resistance up above, I got 349.90, 352.80, and 359.30. Support down below, ladies and gentlemen, what I got for you here is 343 even, 339.80, and 333.30. Again, open interest, 300,494. That's pretty big for natural gas. Some shorts are in the market here. As you've been seeing, we've been trading lower. Implied volatility about 32%. A lot of interest in that 340 calls I mentioned. Again, they ripped the 355 put yesterday, causing the market to trade lower. So we're going to find some support at 340 even. Again, the 340 even strike call, the most heavy in the pit, even out in the front, all the way down to probably the red and blue month this month, which are 3 months out. We're talking that DECE. So, guys, that's really what I'm seeing down here on the trading floor. Again, we're looking to breach major levels out of these balance levels on crude. We're going to be continuing to sell if we do get below that 103.36. If not, we're going to be looking to buy the dip and trade within the range. Natural gas, we're looking to buy that 340 even if we get down, 340 even to get that if we get down to it. So that's what I'm seeing here, guys, on the trading floor. I'll see you all in just about 45 minutes here or so, right, guys? 40 minutes, right? That's what I'm going to see you next. Alrighty, I'm going to throw it back over now to Los Angeles with Mr. JJ, hanging out in Los Angeles in his home office.
Thanks, Marty. Always appreciate it, my man. And thank you for braving the elements out there in the NYMEX exchange.
Gotta get my shoes on now.
That's right. That's right. Put the helmet on, mouth guard.
Gotta get my shoes on now. Yeah.
Guys,
those homemade shoes I got, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Be on the lookout for Marty's pit session footwear very soon. Oh, Marty, I can see it. I can see it now. We'll see you on one of those QVC channels here this summer. All righty. Guys, I want to thank you so much. Thank you, Marty, for being here with us today. Thank you to each and every one of you guys for coming out and joining us here on the call today. Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. We do our crude oil morning prep. As you can see, we have a little bit of fun along with it. Every morning we're putting together a strategy for you guys. And don't forget, this is just the beginning of our day. Head over and see Marty. Listen in to Marty and his partner Jeffrey. They do a great job every morning at 8:50 a.m. on the NYMEX exchange. And come out and see me sometime. My name is Joseph. I'm over at SchoolOfTrade.com. I run a live trade room where we call all of our trades live in real time, making it easy for everybody to shadow trade while we execute the plan we've talked about today. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. We are now on a 23-hour and 30-minute break. I love your feedback. Don't forget to email us your feedback. I'm JJ at School of Trade. That was Marty at School of Trade. That was Marty at Traders Audio. Excuse me. And we'll catch you guys here next time. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.